All right, back at it. Sports Bet Betting Insight today. Paulie and Teddy, Tuesday, October 9th. Tuesday means college football recap. Some horrific beats we'll get to and run through how the bettors made out this weekend. And we'll get to game four. Can the Red Sox finish off the Yankees? And we got college football tonight on the Deuce in the Sun Belt. All of that coming up. Monday Night Football, Saints in the over. Breeze was terrific. Only 3 incompletions. He sets the record. Never a sweat with the Saints rather. How about the game goes over and you get a 10-minute drive with no points?
Which doesn't happen a lot, but it speaks volumes about what the Redskins did defensively last night, which is pretty much nothing. It was all Drew Brees all the time, and it was, Brees' celebration night, and he got it. And let's give the Saints look good last night. Second straight week that their defense has shown up as well as their offense. And all of a sudden with Ingram and Kamara both at running back, that team has a whole lot of weapons. Once again, bad result for the books by and large. The wise guys were on the Redskins. The public was on the Saints. The books made out well as long as they weren't catering. The books didn't make out great on the side, but certainly total-wise with the game going over. Again, sharp money on the under. Public wasn't betting under. So the books that catered to sharp bettors did well last night. The books that catered to the public, not so much.
All right, and the Saints roll into a bye, having won 4 in a row, and the Redskins host the Panthers. We'll see where that line goes to once we get later in the week here. One bad beat from that game. First quarter team total on the Saints was 6.5. You get the touchdown, but they missed the extra point. And Lutz also almost missed another one, too, so that was bad. Bad bets all over the place. The Sharks, a day game in Brooklyn against the Islanders, 145 up to 170, shut out 4-0. The Indians took money, 115 up to 130, routed 11-2, and swept by the Astros. Magic Heat over 213 up to 217.5, not even close, 90-89. Knicks Wizards over 218 up to 222.5. Bulls Hornets over 219.5 to 223. Those stayed under as well. I will say very disappointing baseball playoffs so far, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, from an entertainment, look, there's been a handful of good games, but by and large, the best game we saw was like the play-in game, with the Cubs and the Rockies. But let me talk about these totals getting moved in NBA preseason action. Because total, big action on the Magic Heat over. That moved 4.5 points, 4.5 point move on the Knicks Wizards over. We saw, 3.5 point move on the Bulls Hornets over. When it comes to betting preseason NBA, it doesn't take a whole lot of money to move these lines a significant amount. If a group comes in and gets a bunch of bets down in a bunch of different places, those lines are going to steam. So to see those 3 overs all be wrong wasn't that much money. The lines moved a lot, but it wasn't that much money. Then NBA preseason action takes no public money. It's all sharp action, and the limit's relatively low.
All right, here we go. Tuesday night, ESPN 2, Sun Belt Battle. App State at Arkansas State. App State up to 10, 60.5 the total. Ark State with a conference loss already. Georgia Southern's 4-1. They lost to Clemson. App State almost beat Penn State to start the season. You got to worry about Troy, who's won at Nebraska and LSU the last couple of years. That's a pretty good conference and some good teams, as we'll see if that first division that Arkansas State's in, or App State's in, is more difficult than what Ark State has to go through. But some people think this could be a matchup here of the teams in the conference title game.
Yeah, I mean, it really could. When we look at Arkansas State, even if they lose tonight, their path to the Sun Belt Championship game is very clear. All they got to do is win the games on their schedule, and they'll be there because App State's on the other side of the conference. So when you read the coach's quotes from Arkansas State this week, and there was one that I found and I lost it, and I'm really mad. I found this one. Blake Anderson, quote, "There's pressure on you every week. If we want to play in the championship game, we sure don't want to leave it up to somebody to do it for us. The only way to take care of that is to win one at a time." But Anderson was very clear. This is not a make or break game for the Red Wolves against what looks like the best team in the Sun Belt. Certainly App State 4-0 ATS. They took Penn State to the wire on the highway, and since then, 3 easy blowouts. But with Blake Anderson talking so much about, well, this isn't our be-all or end-all game. Oh, we can still win the conference title even if we don't win this. That, to me, is something of concern. And certainly the betting markets has been a concern. They're worried about Arkansas State getting run out of the gym tonight. Obviously, the money has poured in on the Appalachian State Mountaineers. An early betting action. This opened 7.5. Was sitting at 9.5 last night. Today we're looking at 10s across the board as the money continues to show for the Red Wolves.
Of the 10 primary offensive and defensive teams, App State leads the Sun Belt in 6 of them. Scoring offense, scoring defense, total defense, and rushing defense as well. A lot of speed, and you saw what they did as they moved the ball. And yeah, it makes sense to me that they're taking money because they moved the ball. They were down big in that game at Happy Valley before coming back to force overtime.
Sure, and again, week one, funny things happen week one. And they were not in that game, and then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, they got a little fire. They recovered an onside kick, and next thing you know, they're taking Penn State right to the wire. But 4-0 against the spread, App State. They have a significant betting bandwagon right now. The quarterback, Zach Thomas, has been very, very good. And you talked about the team speed for Appalachian State. That's very much a concern for Arkansas State. They can't match App State's team speed. They were seen from offense coordinator Buster Faulkner from Arizona State, quote, the fastest defense we've seen maybe in this league. They've done a tremendous job of recruiting. You can see that they have a plan with what they're trying to do in the body types they want on their roster. We've got our hands full. It's a good defense. By the end of the day, like every other week, it's about us executing, finishing drives, and doing the things we can control. Worth noting, App State has scored on a kickoff return, a punt return, and a block punt return for a touchdown. 4 special teams TDs already this season. That could be another area where they have an edge over Arkansas State. I can understand all the money coming on the favorite.
All right, Yankees season on the line tonight. We're down to one baseball game. Yankees are $1.20 at home, 9 the total. CC against Porcello. What the hell was that last night? 16-1 Red Sox. Holt hits for the cycle. First player to do that. How about that? First guy in postseason history to do that. I can't believe it. So he goes deep off the bullpen late after a position player. So CC has had 11 days rest. Porcello was supposed to go game 3. Now he's going tonight. He was good in the regular season against the Yankees. He has struggled in the postseason as a member of the Red Sox. All hands on deck. If something happens early, you go to the bullpen. Price, I guess, is available too for the Red Sox. If something happens to Porcello, don't laugh. He's been good in his career in relief, but not as a starter in the playoffs. So that's one thing you can hang your hat on if you're the Red Sox. What say you? Can the Yankees get off the mat? They had won 7 playoff games in a row at home before getting crushed last night. I thought Ron Darling was good on the broadcast. Severino had nothing, and he said he was waiting, was too late warming up and getting out to the bullpen.
Yeah, he probably was. Certainly, when you talk about how the two teams are looking at last night's game, I'm just going to give you 2 quotes right here. One from Red Sox left fielder Andrew Benintendi, quote, "We're going to try to take this into tomorrow. It's over. We enjoyed it. Now we can focus on tomorrow and get after it. That stands in sharp contrast to the quote from Yankees manager Aaron Boone, quote, "No choice but to flush it." The good thing about today is it's one game, and as awful as a night as it was for us, we've got to turn the page. And tomorrow, obviously, do or die. And, coming into this series, I had mixed feelings. As part of me thought the Yankees were live. Part of me thought the Red Sox were the best team in the American League and had a chance to show it. Now with the Yankees trailing, the one thing I'm going to say, we came into this series talking about the zigzag, betting against the winner of the previous game, on the loser of the previous game. And if I'm going to bet tonight's game, that's the only way I can look, even though, Porcello, not a great postseason history. You talked about it, 0-3 with a 5.33 ERA in 12 appearances, including 0-1 with an ERA of 7 in 4 postseason outings with the Red Sox. But during the regular season this year against the Yankees, 2-0 with a 2.31 ERA in 4 starts against them. Alex Cora, he's actually been good against them. At one point in the playoffs, he was going to start, regardless if it was game 3 or game 4. It's game 4 for Porcello. CC, that's the question mark for tonight in my mind. The biggest question mark for the Bronx Bombers.
Yep. Well, they've been here before. The Yankees trail the series 2-1 for the 3rd straight time. They beat the Indians last year in game 4 of the ALDS, and they also won game 4, beat Houston in game 4 of the ALCS. And CC's been solid since in the playoffs since the Yankees got him as a free agent in 2009. Here's why I passed the game. Because Hernandez is behind home plate, and he's a shit show. Did you see what happened yesterday? Did you see the tweets? Did you see 4 challenges at first base, and now this guy's calling balls and strikes?
Yeah, he had 3 overturned last night, and the only reason the 4th call at first base wasn't overturned is because it couldn't get the indisputable video evidence on that one, but it easily could have been overturned as well. And you got Paul LaDuca and Chipper Jones ripping him on Twitter. You know, how is Angel Hernandez still umpiring, let alone in the playoffs? It's unreal to me. He is far the worst umpire in the league every year, which certainly makes things interesting for tonight when you have a controversial ump. CC pitched fairly well against the Red Sox in the regular season. 1-0, 4.50 ERA. He's obviously a guy with a ton of postseason experience. The Yankees bullpen behind him, despite yesterday's debacle, it continues to be an elite unit. Here's CC's quote. Top to bottom, it's a tough lineup. They got speed. They got power. They take a lot of pitches. It's a good lineup. Bad lineup for me in the fact they take a lot of pitches. They're patient. They do a good job of working the count. And I'm with you, Paulie. I lean to the Yankees tonight. I do not have a wager on the New York Yankees in my pocket, despite the zigzag theory. Don't know if I get there. Not laying 120, I don't.
All right, here we go. College football recap every Tuesday. Let's start with the bad beats. NC State, 5, 5.5, 6, or 6.5. I know 4.5 was available early in the week, but you had to wait on the status of Dillon, who did not play. In any event, it's 28-3 NC State. Late with 2 minutes left in the third quarter, a 20-yard field goal was blocked. A blocked punt returned for a touchdown. They threw 2 interceptions, and they win by 5. That was a tough beat or a tough push in that one. Florida LSU under 44. That gets there with the pick 6 late. Please fall down if you're the kid. The game's over. But they don't do that in college. I don't understand why. Sometimes they don't do it in the pros. Buffalo Central Michigan under 52. A touchdown with a minute left, put it over 34-24. Clemson under 63. Give me a break. Wake Forest scores 3 points and it goes over. 63-3. Not 1, not 2, 3 100-yard rushers for Clemson. And South Alabama, Georgia State under 57. 48-13 final. 28 fourth quarter points in that one.
Sure. There's a lot to talk about. Let's talk the highlight that. Let's talk Florida LSU, the under 44, and the pick 6. All right. You love it when the defense gets to stop. You don't need to worry about it. Fine, fall down. You cash whatever ticket you have. But let's be realistic. All right. These are college kids. They're really excited about making a play. And when they see green in front of them, they're going to run it to the house. That's the nature of what we do versus what they do. And let's be real. We don't want college players or pro players at any point thinking about the spread and what the number is and any of that stuff. All right. That's our job. Their job is to go out and play the game.
Well, win the game, though. You want to win the game. You want to do. Sure. You want to do what's put your position to win the game. You win the game if you fall down. You're still only up 8 if you score. In the Miami game, it's funny you brought that. In the Miami game, they told the kid to fall down if you break it, and it happened at Florida years ago with McElwain, where he was screaming at the kid to fall down, and he scored anyways. The Miami guy broke it and fell down, stayed in bounds, didn't try to score. So it depends on if you're well coached or not.
Sure, and certainly coaching comes into the equation there. The players should know, but any coach will tell you what I say and what they do aren't always the same. Bottom line, if you had the under 44, that really sucked. Tough beat. No worse than if you had NC State, though. That was a right side loser for anyone who bet it late.
The Kentucky Texas A&M game was wild too, because that line was 5.5. Kentucky can't get a first down. A&M's up 7. Kentucky gets a defensive touchdown late, goes to overtime. They missed the field goal to start overtime, but then A&M scores and they cover and win by 6. That game had everything. Bad for the Bucks. Georgia Tech 3.5 up to 5.5 Friday night. Horror show. First 9 possessions for Georgia Tech. 8 touchdowns, 1 field goal. 500 rushing yards against Louisville. Middle Tennessee plus 6.5 down to 3. Won outright Friday night. Utah State plus 3 went off the favorite. Routed BYU. Utah State 5-0 to the over and 5-0 ATS on the season. South Florida 13.5 up to 15.5 and the over from 70 to 72. 58 to 42. Clemson from 17 up to 20.5. Pitt 5.5 down to 3. Won in overtime. And the NC State bad landing spot 4.5 up to 6.5 fell 5.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about, Utah State 5-0 straight up and against the spread. National TV win. Is that going to last now that they have the national TV win? Maybe. The Aggies, they took a bunch of money pretty consistently. They've been a very bad team for bookmakers so far. You talked about that Clemson game going over. How about UMass hitting 100 in back-to-back weeks? I've been cashing over tickets with the Minutemen. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cash another one, given what how bad their defense is giving up 58 back-to-back ball games. Clemson taking money and winning, Pitt taking money and winning. Oh, that was a wise guy play. The books that cater to recreational bettors did fairly well on the Pitt-Syracuse game. The public all over Syracuse. The sharp money all over the Pitt Panthers.
Florida took money from 3 down to 1, won outright. Maryland, Michigan over 44.5 to 49. That got there no problem. Notre Dame 5 up to 6.5. Illinois from 3 up to 4.5. Duffel Big Boy had a couple $100,000 here in Vegas on Illinois. He always goes against Rutgers. Easy winner there. San Diego State from 14.5 down to 13.5. They won in Boise again. And then 9 first downs. Rocky Long's terrific off a bye. Washington, UCLA. Washington finally played an over. 50 up to 53. Touchdown late, put it over. Fresno from 11 to 16.5. 21 to 3 final. New Mexico plus 11.5 down to 8.5. Routed UNLV 50 to 14. How about that?
Yeah.
Kansas 29 down to 26.5. Lost by 16 against West Virginia. Vandy, Georgia over 52 to 56. Fell 54. Late touchdown there. Texas San Antonio plus 2. Went off the favorite and beat Rice. Whiskey, Nebraska over 56 up to 60. 66 points scored there. And this was crazy. That Hawaii wouldn't announce that McDonald was out, but the quarterback did not play. Hawaii, Wyoming under 58 down to 51. That easily won. And then the spread, Hawaii went from laying 3.5 to plus 3.5. Covered anyways, 1 by 4.
So let's start with the top, San Diego State, and their win over Boise. Straight up dogs of a touchdown or more to win this weekend. San Diego State won straight up. New Mexico won straight up. Northwestern at Michigan State won straight up. Iowa State with the double-digit upset victory. UAB. And, of course, the Texas Longhorns, despite blowing a 3-touchdown lead in the last, 8 minutes of the fourth quarter, Texas with the final drive to kick the game-winning field goal. They, too, won as 7 or 7.5 point dogs. Florida State didn't get the straight-up win, though. Blew that lead against Miami. They did, however, get the money. And we got to talk about Notre Dame and the win over Virginia Tech, because that was impressive for the Irish. And the wise guys were all over Notre Dame going into that ball game. That was a bunch of sharp money on the Irish, and that sharp money was spot on all the way to -7 at kickoff. That, not a good result at all for the books that cater to the sharpest bettors in the world.
And the bad bets, Wyoming, as I mentioned, Colorado State, San Jose State under 64 down to 59. 72 points scored in that one. Cal plus 1.5, went off a 2.5 point favorite. Lost by 7 at Arizona. East Carolina, Temple under 55 down to 52. Fell 55. Missouri plus 2.5, went off a favorite. Lost by 2 at South Carolina in a game that was delayed. And Tom Herman does it again. Play of the day winner. Couldn't get there with the Ravens, who gave up 9 points in regulation and still couldn't cover. But Tom Herman now 12-1, 13-1. ATS is a dog at Texas. 9 wins outright.
Yeah, I've got Tom Herman now 22-1. ATS is a dog, dating back to his coordinator days at Iowa State, before he became the coordinator at Ohio State, before he became the Houston head coach, and now as the Texas head coach. 22-1 ATS. As an underdog. That's pretty good. You talked about South Carolina, Missouri. That crazy fourth quarter, back and forth across the number. Michigan, Maryland, back and forth across the number in the fourth quarter. Ends up going over. Urban Meyer took a knee this time, Paulie. Yeah, it was a fun weekend in college football. And, of course, Clemson trying to run out the clock, catch the over. We talked about that 63-3 final. That was Clemson trying to run out the clock with the 50-yard TD to send that game up and over the total.
All right. I like Wisconsin, Michigan under 48. That's available globally. That's opinion I have. But what do you want to do? I don't have an opinion on these 2 games today.
Yeah, I mean, play of the day, I'm going to go with 922, the Yankees. I haven't pulled the trigger yet at -120. I'm hoping we see a better number than that. Bottom line is that's only going to look in tonight's game is the zigzag. Game number 922, Yankees. That's our play of the day.
All right, very good. I think Wisconsin, Michigan. I think I said the big game coming up in prime time on Saturday. 48 the total. All right, now Sportsbet betting insight today. Paulie and Teddy. I'm at Real Sportsbet on Twitter. He's at Teddy_covers. All the betting news you need to know in less than 20 minutes. Back tomorrow. We'll preview some of the division series as well. And Thursday, a big game for the champs. Eagles take on the Giants. Loaded show coming up tomorrow. Low Shack in the Bay coming up next.